Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama, June the 30th, 2023. Come join us here. We're the folks who believe the Bible is true. God ought to get the glory for his creation instead of the stupid evolution religion. You can join us on Rumble, Kent Hovind Official, on YouTube, on Genesis Baptist Church, on Odyssey, and check out all the channels on drdino.com. Our website, DRDINO, our phone number, 855-BIG-DINO. We're on all these channels, okay? We're coming to you live from Genesis Baptist Church in Lenox, Alabama. There's a view from the balcony up there. When we're building the church, a guy donated all the wood for the floor. He brought a semi-truckload of rough cut wood from a sawmill. He said, I love your ministry. It wasn't quite enough of oak to do this in oak or cedar. So we said, hey, let's make a cross out of cedar in the middle. Did you guys see that when you walked in? It's a big cross out of cedar. And the rest is oak. And somebody donated all the pews. So thank you all for visiting here. Okay, help us stay open for free. Join our 777 Club. drdino.com. If you can, we ask you to give $1 a day. We don't charge anything. If you want to take us on as a missionary, we do everything. Take tours all the time, spend a lot of money on gas and air conditioning and food, 700 meals a week. So if you want to help, that'd be great. But no super chats on YouTube. But they do have, was there another button they're going to fix on? It is fixed. Yeah, okay. Make any checks to CSE, that's Creation Science Evangelism. Okay. Get our seminar series on what the Bible says about the creation and the flood and lies in the textbooks, at $50 for the whole thing. And get our series on what on earth is about to happen, for heaven's sake, about the future. Folks, it's coming like a freight train. Okay, tonight, June the 30th, last day. Let's see, January, February, March, April, May, June. Wow, the year's exactly half over. Where'd it go? My life's got to be at least half over, 70. Got to look back and say, where'd it go? Okay, July. We don't need that one yet. Okay, Bible says God blessed them. It said, be fruitful and multiply. It's a blessing to have children. Children are an heritage of the Lord, the Bible says. There's something about having children, just a blessing, okay? My wife and I like to watch funny videos of children and animals. There's a little girl who goes out, will be 2 years old, and calls her horse, and the horse comes over and licks her in the face and all that stuff. We love watching that. Children are a heritage of the Lord. He said, be fruitful and multiply. He blessed them. God created the making babies part of life, okay? He made them male and female, male and female. It's all through the Bible. You can't miss it if you can read it all. And he said, Jesus said he made them male and female. So there's no excuse. God gave the command and to all the life forms to make babies. He made the equipment to do it and the drive to do it. Why would any animal want to make babies when it only increases competition for food supply? Well, God designed that, okay? And he gave amazing variety of ways that they do it. And you atheists are not answering any of the questions. None. Strangely silent. You talk about me all kinds of other ways. Why don't you answer my questions here? I got a theory. God made so many different and amazing complex ways that plants and animals reproduce so that no one, not even diehard believers in evolution, will have any excuse on Judgment Day. When you see how the platypus makes babies, or the starfish, or the Suriname horned toad, or tonight, the bacteria. David said, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Nobody answered about the anglerfish. What happened, guys? Young people, some of you young people ought to do a whole YouTube channel just on any one of these creatures. How did this evolve? The tardigrade. No atheist answered the question. Honeybee, nobody answered. Let's see. Watermelon, nobody answered that one. Starfish, nobody answered that one. Let's see. Praying mantis, nobody answered that one. You guys, you're cowards. You don't have a science, you have a religion. You believe in evolution. Nobody answered about the beavers. Nobody. About the frog. No, they give birth out of their mouth. How did that happen? The ant. Nobody answered that one. I don't know where they are. They're strangely silent, isn't it? So some of you viewers of my channel should go to their channels and rub their nose in it. Say, look, guys, come on. You claim you believe in evolution. Answer the questions. You claim science is on your side. Explain how the sponge evolved, their method of reproduction, or the barnacle. Nobody answered. Or the Venus flytrap, or the flatworm, or the needle-beard sea devil. Nobody answered. Or the blue-banded goby, electric eel. How many have we done so far, brother? About 70? A whole bunch. Nobody's answered. Seahorse, mannequins, right whales, wrong whales, left whales, frilled shark, blue whales, pink whales, yellow whales. Nobody answered, okay? The banana slug, quiet. Blubber. Nobody answered about the plover. Porcupine. Nobody answered that one. Tarantula. Suriname toad, give birth out of their back. Nobody answered that one. Let's see. The platypus. Now, that's a strange one. How come you guys didn't answer? Come on. The kangaroo. There's an oddball one. Explain that to me now. Come on. You guys can't do it. Tonight, the bacteria. Hi, I'm a bacteria. My creator made me. If you think I evolved from nothing for no reason, for no designer, you need to go back to school and learn some real science. Tonight we'll study how bacteria make babies. Atheists are invited to explain how this unusual method evolved. I predict nobody will answer that with this one either. Nobody ever does. Let's see. Bacteria, small single-celled organisms found almost everywhere on Earth. They are vital to the planet's ecosystem. They have a cell structure simpler than that of many other organisms, and their control center, i.e. the brains, containing the genetic information, is contained in a single loop of DNA. Control center, yeah, almost like it had a designer. Some bacteria have an extra circle of genetic material called plasmid rather than a nucleus. Human body is full of bacteria, estimated to contain more bacterial cells than human cells. Well, now wait a minute. You have 40 and plus 30, 70 trillion cells in your body, 30 trillion cells, bacteria cells, 40 trillion. They must be important. There are different types of bacteria, different shapes of bacteria, like maybe you heard of Streptococcus, that's after the cocci, the round shape. Types of bacteria. Pharmarox, the way of success. Circular, rod-shaped, curve forms. Let's see. Staph infection comes from staph-shaped virus. What are these viruses? Well, there's all kinds of shapes and ways that they move around and ways that they reproduce. Flagella. They have a little hair on there that can spin around like a propeller. There's an unstructured ultrastructure of a bacterial cell. Wow, they got all kinds of stuff. Bacteria are complicated. One bacteria more complex than a space shuttle. And if you think nobody designed it, you are insane. Guess how many bacteria in a single handful of soil? A gram, about the size of a pencil eraser, will have 2.5 billion bacteria. A handful of dirt would have trillions of bacteria. More types of bacteria on Earth than all other living things combined. How many different kinds of animals are there? Bunch. There are more different kinds of bacteria, and some of them are absolutely stunning in their detail. The untold story of bacteria. Science is lifting the lid on the secret life of bacteria, on revealing how the smallest of organisms are the key to understanding ourselves. Bacteria survive, thrive, fight, and die by the trillion every moment. They swim using nanoscopic motors, little tiny motors. They battle with spears. They sense, they communicate, and they remember. Where's the brain to remember? Bacteria can remember things. Oh yeah, we're talking real tiny, okay? As scientists discover more about these tiny organisms, it's becoming clear bacteria weigh huge influence over us. Yep. World-building bacteria. Earth has been a bacterial world for at least the last 3.5 billion years. This is what we call baloney, lie. Okay, tell them I said so. In the oceans of our young planet, bacteria were among the first forms of life to emerge. Just saying that phrase doesn't mean it's science. This is a statement of your dogma, of your religion. Long before plants and animals had evolved, bacteria colonies flourished and grew. And then, through two extraordinary events, bacteria changed the face of the earth. 2.4 billion years ago, one type of bacteria started to release oxygen, creating the atmosphere as we know it. How can they just make this propaganda up? Guys, this isn't science. This is the type of silly propaganda our students must learn and be tested on in our school system. They say, oh yeah, the origin of life was 3.6 billion years ago, and they split into bacteria and eukaryotes. They just make a chart, draw lines on paper, and the kid has to learn this for the test. This is not science. You know, Daniel was taken captive as a teenager, made into a eunuch, Google that one, and made to learn all the dumb stuff the Babylonians taught, forced to go to their public school. He kept his mind pure and followed the Lord. God used him to write the book of Daniel and warn us about the future. See, Daniel was made to learn about the god Marduk and the fire-breathing dragon. He was made to learn all the Babylonian stuff. He went to the pagan school, but it didn't affect him because he knew the Lord. You can go through a public school. I did all the way through high school and 2 years of college, and you can learn all the pagan stuff and still keep your mind pure and love the Lord. You can do it, kids. Now make it happen, okay? You should learn early in life to eat the meat and spit out the bones. When you're eating a T-bone steak, don't eat the bone. When they're teaching stuff in school, some of what they teach is true and good. Some of it is baloney, bone. It's the same with your education. Learn the real science and spit out the evolution junk. It's not part of science. Bacteria are the simplest creatures we think of as being alive. Fewer than 100 species of bacteria can do any damage, causing disease. Bacteria are good, nearly all of them. Few little bad ones. The vast majority of species either live in you harmlessly or actively keep bad at bay, like microscopic superheroes. The bacteria are the good guys. So if you take an antibiotic, you might be killing all the good guys too. So be careful with that stuff, right? Bacteria cells are filled with a substance called cytoplasm, a mixture of proteins and nutrients needed for life. Bacteria have hair-like flagella. A what? That's a little hair. That's their propeller that makes them swim. They rotate. Tiny retractable pili that are used like grappling hooks. They have little hairs that they can use to hang on to other things. We'll talk about the pili in a minute here. Bacteria come in many sizes. You could fit 2,000 of the smallest into a millimeter, while the largest are more than ½ millimeter long. Here is the hair of the bacteria, flagella, attached to the little motor. That little tiny motor in the skin to the bacteria. How thick is the bacteria's skin? Not very thick. That motor is so tiny, 8 million of them would fit in the cross-section of a human hair. Jerk a hair off your head, cut it in half. The stump of the hair would hold 8 million of these motors. Now, motors are complicated. I've rebuilt motors before. We had RX2, two RX2s years ago in the rotary engine, loved it. Rotary engine's amazing, the piston engine's amazing, the jet engine's amazing. But they had a designer, all of them. This little motor in the bacteria is so tiny, 8 million of them would fit in a hair, on a stump of a hair, but it rotates 100,000 RPM. Let's see you build a motor that gets 100,000 RPM. As things get smaller, the fluid they swim through feels thicker to them. It's a viscosity problem. A bacteria swimming through water is like a person swimming through peanut butter at 60 miles an hour. That's how powerful this little motor is. And it can, 100,000 RPM, stop in a quarter turn and reverse. Bacteria is going one way, back up, go the other way. If you believe the motor that turns the flagellum evolved by chance with no designer, you need serious help. Just study the flagella motor and tell me how that evolved. That's not the whole bacteria. Some of them have a whole bunch of these all over their skin. Some have just one. We have a model of one in our science center. You can come see our flagella motor, little model of it. They say humans probably evolved from bacteria more than 4 billion years ago. Well, the bacteria can swim the equivalent of a person swimming 60 miles an hour through peanut butter. So I would say you need to sign them up for the Olympics. If we evolve from them, we're getting worse, not better, okay? One of the lies I cover in my video number 4 of my series, Lies in the Textbooks, is in lie number 35, about the evidence of evolution from bacteria. There's this book. Do we sell this in our bookstore? Could a box evolve? It's classic. Could a cardboard box happen by chance? Whoever wrote that did a good job. Billions of times more organized the bacteria are, and they have no traffic jams. A bacteria is more complicated than New York City, and no traffic jams. DNA replication, E. coli bacteria. The way that they replicate and make a copy of themselves is stunning. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The DNA code has to be unzipped, copied, looped around, put back together. And when you see how many times they do it, see what you think. Let's see. The table gives approximate size of the variety of structures of the organisms. So a micron is a millionth of a meter and a thousandth of a millimeter. Pretty tiny. Real tiny. Let's see. The genome of E. coli is 4 million base pairs, 3,000 genes. This is for just one bacteria. It has to make a copy of all that information in a matter of minutes. So the way it does, the looping is amazing. I'll show you a little video on how they make the copy of their DNA. And this happens a whole bunch of times. Creation of supercoils to unwind the bacteria and make the duplication copy. The DNA code, just the DNA code is, the bacteria is real tiny. This code, this is inside the bacteria. All this gene replication is taking place inside a tube where 50,000 of them side by side would be 1 inch. 50,000 of them, pretty tiny. The circular DNA of E. coli stored in a supercoiled state is more complex than your average chromosomes in eukaryotic cells. Specifically, the entire circular chromosome must replicate itself in just 20 to 25 minutes using a host of specific enzymes without a mistake. How does Darwinism explain that? The entire E. coli chromosome spins incredibly fast as the replication of the parent chromosome becomes 2 daughter chromosomes. I need to know how this occurred by a series of fortunate mistakes. Frank Sherwin, good friend of mine, ICR. Here's a video, we can play this here, showing how fast bacteria can multiply. Wait a minute. Got to go back one. Come over to here. What am I doing wrong? I thought I had it all set to go here. Well, okay. There's plenty of stuff on bacteria replication or reproduction on the internet. Watch some videos there. Animation showing how the bacteria makes a copy of itself. How do bacteria reproduce? Most bacteria reproduce by binary fission. They simply duplicate the stuff inside, separate longer, break in half. They reproduce both sexually and asexually. Let's see. Some bacteria have only a single flagellum. E. coli has multiple flagellae distributed over the cell surface. Each one of these is really complicated. Maybe I got to do this to go to here. Okay.
Bacteria reproduce very simply and rapidly by doubling their contents and splitting in two. Just one bacterium, dividing every 20 minutes, could produce nearly 5,000 billion bacteria in one day. Bacteria.
5,000 billion. Whole bunch in one day. Now, let me go to this one. See if that does it. Okay, never mind. Bacteria reproduce 3 different ways: vegetative, sexual, and asexual reproduction. When they want to reproduce and change gene code with another bacteria, they have little tubes called pili. They get up to another bacteria, poke a hole in it, and that real tiny tube transmits the DNA code through the tube. How did that evolve? By chance? It looks like it was, designed. Yeah, you think? The cell surface appendages in bacteria. The surface of the bacteria has these little tiny hairs, has the flagella to swim with, and pilus, P-I-L-U-S, or pili, singular. Well, these things. Well, with those little pili, they can grab onto things. That's their grappling hooks. It's also how they reproduce. They go up and poke another bacteria and send DNA code through that tube. Atheists, give me a step-by-step process, scientific answer, how that evolved. Bacteria reproduce primarily by binary fission, means they break in half, which means each daughter is identical to the parent. But once in a while, they want to exchange DNA. Let's see. Under ideal conditions, some bacteria species may divide every 10 to 15 minutes. A doubling of the population at these time intervals. So if you every 15 minutes you double. So you went 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, a whole bunch. Okay, keep 512 keeps going. Yeah. Here we have, let's see, bacteria E. coli. Humans have 3.2 billion genomes. Bacteria have 4.6 million genome size. See, E. coli is 4,400 genes, 4.6 million base pairs. All that information is being copied flawlessly, quickly. DNA animation. This one's classic on how the DNA makes a copy of itself. Watch that. See if you can explain how that evolved by chance. Every 4 to 20 minutes, bacteria reproduce. Why it matters. Bacteria are the fastest reproducing organism in the world, doubling every 4 to 20 minutes. Well, genome sequence showed that parasite bacteria have 500 to 1,200 genes. When you make a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, it starts to lose and degrade. The original, 90 generations later, it's lost about everything. So the first bacteria evolved 3 billion years ago. Let's see, every 20 minutes, how many 20-minute slots are there in 3 billion years? Some of you math whizzes with a computer with a screen that's got a long printout, and you think it copied itself quadrillions of times, and it's still a clean copy. Do you ever stop and think about what you think about? Now. Do you really expect me to believe that? Come on. Evolution of bacteria progressed over billions of years since the Precambrian time, with their first major divergence in the Archean eukaryotic line. Okay. This was discovered through gene sequencing of bacterial nucleotides. This is pure baloney. Whoever wrote that Wikipedia article, take it down, all right? This is crazy. You really expect me to believe that happened by chance? Thomas Jefferson said, man once surrendering his reason, has no remaining guard against absurdities. The most monstrous, and like a ship without a rudder, is the sport of every wind. With such persons, gullibility, which they call faith, takes the helm from the hand of reason, and the mind becomes a wreck. That's atheism right there. Good job, Tom. Con men have long known that their job is not to convince skeptics, but to enable the gullible to continue to believe what they want to believe. Some of you atheists, you want to believe there's no God, and you are gullible, and you're going to keep going. You believe no one designed the bacteria. They get up, that little tiny pili goes over, pokes a hole in the other one, and they exchange DNA code that way. Come on now. Tell me how that evolved. Be open-minded, but not so open-minded your brains fall out. If you find it hard to laugh at yourself, I'll be happy to do it for you. You atheists, you are hilarious. I love debating you guys. Call all of you same time. Some of you think you're a strawberry. Some of you think you're a fish. I got the chart here. You really believe you're related to a bacteria and came from, that's your ancestor. Tell you what, call Standing for Truth. I'll debate all the atheists in the world at the same time. If I get half the time, we talk about one topic at a time. Bring in the experts on every field. I'm not an expert on all that stuff, but I'm smart enough to know it had to have a designer. Okay, questions or comments, and we'll quit. Is it fair to dismiss the claim that they found the geologic column in North Dakota, since they use the same circular reasoning for that area in North Dakota? Well, to say they found the geologic column in North Dakota is ludicrous. There is a layer, a sequence of events that they think took place. If we had 10 million people shuffling decks of cards all over the place, is it possible that somebody somewhere is going to get a sequence that has all the hearts together? Unlikely, but possible. You keep doing it enough times. What they're doing, they've already decided what the geologic column ought to be. You know, the Cenozoic, Mesozoic, Paleozoic, and then they start looking for it. It's just random chance you'll find that particular sequence somewhere, but all the layers are the same age. If you think the top layer is younger, you guys never answer the question. Where's it coming from? Where did the top layer come from? Where was it hiding for billions of years until it showed up on top? Am I getting it wrong? Brother, how else can you explain it to them? Guys, there is no geologic column. There are layers of dirt and rock. Oh, no question. We got a bunch here in our gravel pit. But they all formed in 1 year. Noah's flood. Okay? Other questions? Where was yes, there was a flood, but what about glacier ice flows? Well, we covered that in the last 4 broadcasts on this program. Go back and watch the last couple about the ice age, the Hovind theory of where did the ice come. No question there was an ice age. I think it was simultaneous with the flood, and then would take 400 years after the flood to melt back, which is why we have a continental shelf. Watch my video number 6 where I talk about that, or the last 3 or 4 programs here on our channel. Okay, any more? Okay. Tomorrow, no YouTube, and then Sunday morning, we're back to the book of Titus, studying the book of Titus. See you then.